Hi everybody, welcome to the Perfect Storm Trading Channel. Today's Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. In today's video, I'm going to look at the Cosmodyne chart. We're looking at the 10-minute chart of the ES, and we're going to look at the Cosmodyne in a couple of different ways. The first thing that I recommend when using this tool is to concentrate on the area between 2 a.m. and 1600 Eastern Time. You want to stay in the more active trading period. So the European Open is around 3 a.m. Eastern. So you kind of want to look to start watching the activity an hour before that, looking for your first potential trigger point. So what I've done, I've blocked out with the red rectangle that time block when we're going to focus in that particular area to look at the key points. So the first thing I want to point out is you want to look at the peaks and valleys in the indicator for potential reversal points. So here is a peak. Here we have a crossover and a pivot in the indicator. We have another peak here, another peak here, and then a peak here. And I've put ellipses around the four that were in the black. So the first area that you would want to look at, this is November 5th here, the first area you'd want to look at would be in this area right here. You can see we drifted down, we made a bottom right at the center point of that crossover. We got this reversal bar on the candle, and that triggered the trade up. Now then we come into this extreme here at 7:30. This extreme was actually a correction low that triggered another long. So we got two good upswings to that high. Now that high on Friday the 5th, we had called that for a turning point date, November 5th, which is played out so far. That was also active on Bitcoin and other markets. So you can see when we get out of the day session and we get into the quiet time, the choppy area. That was Sunday night. Then we come into Monday morning and I have the time period blocked out again, 2 a.m. on. Now on this one I'm taking some other points. When you first start out with this, you're better off looking at the highs and lows. So we're looking at this high here, which was a high. There was a wick here, which you can't see, but obviously we're still in the chop area, so there's not much follow through on that particular trade. At the beginning, avoid the smaller bumps, just stick with the major ones. The next major one was here. This was in the middle of the swing, and there was no reversal bar. When you get that scenario, look to the next bump. Now here we get a peak here where I drew this other blue line, and that was a spike high. See the wick up there? We had a big spike high and a wick come into play. That's a good trigger. You could go short then at that bar close, and you got a good short trade. Now we get a little bit of back and forth here because we have a low here. That also is this low right here on the candle. I didn't put a line in yet just so that could be seen a little bit more clear. Anyhow, that's that point right there. So that little bump is that low right there. So then we're bouncing back and forth. We get a trigger point here at this extreme. We get a potential long, so we get a long trigger, but it doesn't go far. So that would have ended up being a scratch trade. Stay out of this scenario here. because it's a little flat to the bump. It's not real clear. And then we get our next extreme right here at this blue line. We get a potential short trigger, which doesn't work. We bounce back, retest that high, then we get a short trigger that does work. Moving into Tuesday now here, you can see at the bottom of the chart, November 9th. You can see that a lot of times the price action will follow one of the two lines. Like in this case here, we're following the blue line with the price action. The blue line goes up, then down, then up, then down, up, then down, and then we get a push up. And then here at this point, we get the inversion. So you can see the market when I put the red trend lines up here on the data, price data. You can see we follow the blue line, we go up. I drew the vertical lines in at the peaks and valleys. We go down to the next line, then we head up. We peak out here on the market just before the peak. We trade down to that little bump low. We trade back up to the extreme high peak, and then we trade down. We don't get a reversal here. So what happens when we don't get a reversal at this low? The trend continues on to the next bump, and that's where the inversion comes in. Now, that's very important to know and understand, especially for you guys that have these tools and are watching this. This is how you got to look at that. So this is really going to help, with the trading, because when the market pushes through one of these bumps on the Cosmodyne, it's going to carry through to the next one most of the time. So that's an important point to remember. So that's where we are. Just want to take a look at the last 3 days and show what happened there. Last thing, you can see that there's a couple of areas that are a little tricky. This one here I mentioned prior. That little configuration a little tricky. Same thing on yesterday. On Tuesday we got a pretty similar pattern in that area right there, and that's where we get a little bit of this up and down confusion. Same here, we get a little bit of this up and down confusion in that point, so we're kind of bounce chopping around through that till we get out of there and get a more clear indication. So that's just some tips that will help you with the Cosmodyne indicator, hopefully, and we will see you again on Thursday.